Welcome to Dependable Flame, where we explore vintage petrol lighters, ashtrays, tobacciana, and other useful mechanisms. Make yourself at home. Today we have a vintage Park Slim lighter advertising Seagram's 100 Pipers Scotch. I am a little bit familiar with Scotch myself. It was never my drink of choice, but I am very familiar with 100 Pipers because of an uncle that I had who, in his old age, we really became more friends. This is a very cool Park Industries slim heavy gauge brass case, chrome plated. This is not, the insert is cheap. The insert is what you would think of with most Park Industries petrol lighters, especially those from the Murfreesboro, Tennessee era. The insert is made of aluminum. It has a solid fuel cell in it. It has a plastic flint spring screw. The windscreen is made of some other kind of plated metal, I believe, but the actual body of the insert is constructed of aluminum, very lightweight, and you see that in a lot of lighters from that time. I'm really kind of surprised that Zippo never went to aluminum. It must have been so readily available. That's one of the reasons why we have the proliferation of aluminum block petrol lighters coming from after the World War II era, World War II in Korea, when you had aluminum as this surplus left over from the war effort. But you certainly had others as Park and other major lighter companies. There are DuPont petrol lighters, I believe, from the World War II era that were made of aluminum. There were definitely some Ronson lighters that were made from aluminum. The Ronson Typhoon, that was a little bit later. Definitely believe at least the 50s, maybe the 60s, somewhere around in there. So it's not novel for these lighters to have aluminum in them, but it does give it sort of a cheaper, definitely more lightweight feel. And you know, that's one thing. It's kind of like maybe that makes sense to some EDC people, but we talk about how a gun feels in our hand or how a knife might feel in our hand. And I think it's the same thing with a lighter. When you pick a lighter up, that tool that you were going to use to spark your combustibles, you want it to feel like a tool. You don't want it to feel like nothing. It should feel like the machine that it is designed to give you fire on demand. I kind of wish I had filmed the changing of the wick. I did change the wick in this when I went to clean it up and to pull it up out of there. The whole thing came out. So I just went ahead and pulled that fuel cell out and put a copper braided Zippo type wick down there and replaced the solid foam fuel cell and then clipped the wick off there. There's not a whole lot I could do about, you know, you're only gonna, I guess you could cut a hole through the middle of it, or maybe you wouldn't want it to be too wide because then you'd have fuel sloshing around in there. I don't know what you could do actually. Maybe just running it down the side of the fuel cell is the best you can do. But it was really a tight fit getting it squeezed back down in there, and you can see how the tool that I used caused some problems there to the bottom of that solid fuel cell, which of course it looks like it has been contaminated by plenty of who knows what corrosion and whatever else has taken place in the bottom of that tank for all of these years. I think it's really cool that it is a two-sided slim advertising lighter. I don't remember seeing another Park Slim advertising lighter with the advertisement on both sides like this one. I could be wrong. I'm talking about ones that I've owned. I'm certainly not making any claims that this is the only one out there. I'm just talking about the ones that I own. I collect park lighters. I do now consider myself a vintage lighter collector, and park is one of the areas of focus that I am interested in. I have one that I'm waiting for in the mail today, which is a terrific example of a two-sided advertisement. It is a etch and paint type advertisement on both sides. One side with just wording and information basically, and the other side with a really cool graphic. So keep on the lookout for that video. That will be coming soon. I'd really hope to be working on that one today. So we will have plenty of other two-sided park advertisement lighters coming soon enough. This is, as I said, the first that I can remember of the slim variety that has been in my collection. And we talk often. I'm always given a condition report when I show you these videos. It has wear, scuffs, dings, scratches, very common things like that. This particular lighter appears as though the lid is a little bit crooked, but when you take the insert out and line it all up, it all looks good. So I think maybe it's just that the insert holds that hinge to the point that it kind of throws the hinge a little bit crooked, but it doesn't affect anything. It might affect the way it displays a little bit, but once again, I'm not worried about that with this lighter, because this one's going to go over there on the shelf with the others, with the Marlboro Cowgirl and the two-sided Bob Dylan and the JDH lighter Zippo that Gavin Lannon gave to me, all of my Penguin Cygnus. There are some other park lighters with enameled advertisement. The Smirnoff lighter, that's another one. The Smirnoff lighter is in honor of my dad. It's a park advertising, just the Smirnoff emblem on one side. 100 Pipers will go right next to that. They're in honor of my dad and my uncle, his brother. They can be right there side by side in the collection. So the next time that you get a glimpse of my collection, pay close attention and see if you notice I have those two lighters. It won't be because they're alcohol related necessarily, but I certainly have many alcohol related stories with those two fellas. It's kind of interesting to me as well, living now as a grown man, a grown-ass 50-year-old man in the city where I've heard so many stories told by my dad and all my uncles of the trouble that they got into in their youth or early adulthood. So any given day I might walk past a business or drive down a street and be reminded, or I actually live in a neighborhood where my mother and father first lived when they first got married while she was pregnant with me. I live about 4 blocks from where they lived at the time. So it's very interesting being so close to all these things that really, because of where I grew up, the proximity and the places, that I was not so much aware of Oklahoma City proper as I am today. So the education that I am getting now here in my middle age has been enlightening and has certainly informed some of the stories that I had heard from those guys for so many years and from so many years ago. Until next time.